Hey, just friends, today I want to see one game. This game is played between Sultan von Balla and Richard Reti in the year 1904. Let's start the game. So this game is about a sudden attack being launched by the black side and team play by black species. Let's start this amazing game. Okay, so the amazing game started. E4. Let's see. Okay, the game started E4, C5 or not. No, because at that time no one played this variation. E4, E5 was played. Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5. The Ruy Lopez variation, and now F5. It was very popular at that time, Janus variation. Now let's speak a few words about this opening. Now idea is that if you play E into F5, I play E4. And that's the good thing here. So after E4 we attack the F3 knight, and what's the purpose of that, you might ask? So now we gain some space in the center, and now the thing what we are planning is that we are attacking, and now we plan D5 or D6, bishop into F5 and gain some activity. So overall idea is that when you play normal opening, you knight F6, bishop C5, short castle, then your F8 rook is not active. But in this variation we have played F5, so now our F8 rook will be active with this F5. That's the overall idea of this variation. Okay. So after EF5, E4 was played. That's why E into F5 is a bad move actually. And after E into F5 you can also play something like D4, but E4 is just better. So after EF5, this is not the best move. Here there was played D3, main move. And after D3, the best move here in the theory is F into E4. But now he played knight to F6, which is a bad move. You know why? Because now I take here. You have no E4 because of my D3 pawn. And if you play D5, I play here counter strike. I think D5 just knight in D5 just takes and knight into E5. That's why you don't want to play D5. And here if you play D6, then I play short castle, and then my threat is to play D4. That's why you take here, and I play D4 with a better position. So you don't want all this to happen, but in the game knight F6 was played, and his opponent also didn't spot this, so he played knight to C3. And at this moment, what was played? Just click that pause the video button right now and think what should you play. Okay, don't do that because this is an opening and we don't want to see this opening, which is a dubious one. After knight C3, the best bet would be again to play F into E4, but in the game was played bishop to C5. Now again E into F5 is just better because after D6 the move D4 is coming with big blow, and knight e4 is also an option with bishop g6, a4 threatening a5, bishop into c6, a5, and this position is good for white. He maintains a strategical edge, so that's why bishop c5 is again a bad move. Both sides are not exploiting the opening mistakes because it's 1914. No opening was such type of no opening was such advanced in that time. It was just 1914. Theory was taking its development stage. But after bishop to c5 was played bishop to c4, which is again not exploiting the fact that this e into f5 can be taken, and finally black played d6 at the right time. So after d6, now we defend this pawn, and anytime after e into f5, bishop into f5. So d6 idea is here to play knight to a5 and get this bishop so that we can short castle. But after d6, white played an interesting looking move, knight to g5. You mean it's tempting? Why not? Because after knight to g5, my idea is knight to f7 and here, and only a sensible move is to play queen e7, then knight f7 or bishop to f7 check, knight to d5, knight into d5, bishop into d5, continue like this. But in the game was played something nice. So here you should pause it's a good moment for you to pause the video and think. Okay, if you saw the if you saw the game Victor Knorre versus Mikhail Chigorin game, then you can easily spot that after knight g5 there is a interesting move f4 with a seemingly very good looking counter play. Whenever you put this idea on the engine, it will obviously say winning, because it won't understand the fact that black's counter play is so strong. But as you will see, the counter play will perish. Okay, so knight f7 was played, queen e7, knight into h8 and now is Mr. Interesting Movement. Now it's a good moment again, I think, for you to pause quick pause the video and think. Okay, I hope you paused the video and saw this motive. So thing is that there was a little change in the border. First white played short castle, then bishop to c5, everything's the same actually, bishop c4, d6, and now after knight g5 was played f4. Now engine still will say that white is slightly better, but as you see, white's attack is checkmating. So knight g5, f4, kudos if you found this. Knight to f7, forking the king and queen, queen e7, and now we can't sacrifice the queen as in the Knorre-Chigorin game, because we don't have an open h file and the g3 pawn, but still we can sacrifice a rook, queen e7, knight into h8, and very similar to that game, bishop to g4, attacking the queen. Now queen to d2, queen moves away. Now if queen to e1, f3 illegal because the pin. If queen to e1, then same knight d4. So queen d2, knight to d4, and now here for a moment, pause the video and think what is black's threat. black's threat is to play knight to f3 check. Kudos if you saw this move. Now just for a minute, let's do a random move, just like c3. We play knight to f3 check, g into f3, bishop into f3, and now the thing is that if we play queen g5 check here, it's mate. So but this knight is standing. How to remove this knight? Now we can do knight d5, knight g8, knight h5, whatever we want. But knight into e4 is the strongest threat, with which we attack the queen. And if you take here, I play queen g5, checkmate. Now if you think of playing h3, so that smartness, if you move the knight anywhere, I play king h2 in time with rook to g1. Then I play knight into e4, good move. And now after d into e4, I play queen to g5 check, and then queen to g2 mate. So here this doesn't work, and here there's a little bit of a question. Now what if here after knight d4 was played knight to c3? Now how will you react? Now white's thing is that if knight to f3 check, then g into f3, bishop into f3, with the threat of knight into e4. But now the rules are reversed. Now white plays h3, and if you take knight into e4, then knight into e4 all of a sudden, and I protect this g5 square. It says that the queen can't come there. So that's why it's the bad one. But after knight c3, pause the video and think what should you do. Okay, this if you are more than 2200 rating, here pause and think. This is hard calculation. If you want to try, then try. Pause the video, think. Knight f3 check. The thing is that knight f3 check still works, because after takes h3. Here we have the amazing move queen to d7, attacking the h3 pawn. And if king to h2, there's knight to g4 check. Even the engine was thinking here 1.8, but as soon as it realized the power of this move, it showed just how strong it is. Okay, so after knight g4 check, if you play king to g1, then there's this beautiful move knight into f2 with rook into f2, queen into h3, and then queen g2 mate, or queen h1 mate, or many mates threat. So that's why it was played this. So after h3, knight into e4 doesn't work, but queen d7 is an absolute game changer. And after here, the engine is slowly realizing the might of this powerful attack. So now knight c3 was not played, thankfully for him, and he played king to h1. But now things have begun to worsen. Now king to h1, hiding from this check, so that we don't lose the game. But now knight f3 again, attacking the queen. And here if you take, then takes, and then same thing with knight into e4. It's just like a transposition, and queen d7 works better. Here just queen g4 is unstoppable. So that's why it is it. So queen d7 is unstoppable, but king h1, knight f3, it was not played this, but queen to a5 was played. in the main game. But now it's too late to mourn, because now comes the amazing. Now it's like blow by blow, blow by blow. Now the next tactical blow followed. Knight into e4. Amazing move. Knight into e4 is a good move, because now if you take, and now everything hangs, but everything you cannot take. Now if you take d into e4, first of all, there's queen h4, h3, there's bishop into h3, just g into h3, queen into h3 is made. And if after h3, bishop into h3, g into f3, then if bishop into f1 check, king to g1, and then queen into f2 check, king to h1, and then queen to g2 is made. So after queen f1, knight into e4, d into e4, queen h4 was not played, but here it was played. g3, making room for the king on g2, so that the three minor pieces versus the lonely king do not do him. Four minor pieces are badly attacking this king, along with this pawn versus the lone king and the rook. The king cannot survive. So now knight into f2 check was played. Rook into f2, bishop into f2, king to g2. Now f into g3, h into g3, and now bishop into g3. Amazing move. So now here the game's about to end, because here there's too bad of a position. And after queen b5 check, c6, queen b5 check is a very poisonous check, because after king to f8, queen d5, it turns out it is black who is getting in trouble because of queen g8 check mate. So here after king to f8 was not played, and if king to d8, then there's knight f7 check, I think so. Yes, king c8, and then bishop to d5 with counterplay. So black just did the best move, c6, and now it was played queen to b4 and just queen to h4. Four pieces are attacking this king without any pawn. Such a bad position. It's like a mate in 7 out here. So bishop f7 check, king to e7, queen into b7 check, and king to f6, and finally the end to a crazy game. Oh my god, what a game. He sacrificed literally many things, just like the Knorre versus Tigorin game. Okay, so that was an absolute classy game. Let's see what we learned from this game. First thing we learned from this game is that sudden attacks can be very good, like here f4, and then here suddenly we have these two bishops, this f4 pawn, and these knights suddenly joining into the arena. Bishop g4, knight d4, knight f3, knight e4, knight f2, then h g3, then bishop into g3. Everything just went out for black, and he won. And second most important is that you when learning the openings, if you are advanced player and learning the openings, engine is very engine is useful for learning openings, but also very dangerous to use it, because engine will tell you this move, and things like f4 will be automatically rejected. If you give the engine time, it will say, oh right, you are right, okay, I wrong, you right, go home. So this is the thing. I hope you like it. Don't forget to hit the scam bell icon. Thank you.